do a confirmation, a little bit different than our normal committee hearing, our committee meetings. First time for this committee, first time they've done this. So don't be nervous. Relax. It's not a big deal. We are not the Gestapo. Well, we might be, not today. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have Ms. Davis come up to the mic and we'll introduce one at a time. Tell us all your glowing remarks you want to share with us about them, and then we'll move ahead. And the difference between this and some of our other testimony is each person will be sworn in. Just a small statement here. You don't have to stand up and raise your right hand or anything like that, but we will swear you in and it'll be on record. And when you come up, and then we'll go through and proceed to ask questions as we go through the record. I know we have 2 of you here in person and the other 3 people are online. So they will be talking heads for us today. So come on up, Ms. Davis. Go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, Chairman Baldwin and members of the committee. I'm Jen Davis. I'm the Governor's Senior Policy Advisor for Health and Human Services. And I am honored today to introduce to you these amazing volunteers who are dedicating their time to serve Wyoming on the Mental Health Professions Licensing Board. We are honored that these individuals are willing to give up their time, as it is often difficult to recruit members to our boards, especially during these current challenging times that we're experiencing. So each of these individuals is dedicated to the mental health and well-being of our Wyoming citizens, and they are offering their services to ensure that our citizens are of the highest quality providers. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce you to the appointees for the Mental Health Licensing Board. As I introduce each of these appointees, I will mention which position the appointee will be serving as on the board. So I will start by, I would like to introduce you to Camilla Untable, who is being appointed to the board. She is from Cheyenne and is serving as one of the public members. She worked 15 years for the state at the State Arts Council, and she currently co-owns an art gallery here in downtown Cheyenne.
Very good. Ms. Untable, go ahead and take, they're very comfortable chairs, by the way, much more comfortable than those wood chairs, I believe, which doesn't take much, as everybody that's sat there much will tell you. Welcome to Labor and Health. So the first item here we need to do is just administer this oath. I say it's simple. You don't need to put your hand on any good book, whatever you got there. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give before this committee will be the truth?
Yes.
You do. Now you need to push the green light on there.
Yes, I do.
Very good. Okay, if you would like to give us an introductory statement, tell us who you are and what you're up to and anything interesting or things that qualify you, or go ahead.
Chairman Baldwin and members of the committee, thank you for this opportunity this morning. My name is Camilla Untable. I've lived in Wyoming since 2001. I came here to work for the Wyoming Arts Council, and I did that for 15 years. I really enjoyed my time working for the state and learned a lot about Wyoming as a consequence. Now I co-own a gallery in downtown Cheyenne called Clay Paper Scissors Gallery and Studio. I also do grant writing, and I do baking for the farmers market and a number of other volunteer projects. I came to this board. I did Leadership Wyoming a few years ago, and about a year after I finished, they sent out an email saying that the governor's office was looking for board members. So I went and looked at the board's website because I was familiar with the system from having worked with the Arts Council. And I thought, okay, I'll apply. And I put down about 4 boards I was interested in. And this one was not listed. And nothing came of that. But about a year later, I got a call from the governor's office asking if I'd be interested in serving on this board. And my first response was, I know absolutely nothing about mental health. I have no background in this area. My background is in the arts and education. And she said, that's the point. You're a public member. So I can't remember if I've served on this board 2 years or 3 years, but it's been a really important and interesting learning experience for me. I had some friends who work in mental health. I have a friend in California who's a psychologist. I have a couple of friends here who are counselors. And I have just been awed by the work this board does. It is really committed and to making sure that we serve the public of our state and make sure that we have the right rules and regulations to make sure that the people who serve us as mental health providers are good people and doing the things they're supposed to. So I've learned a lot and enjoyed my time as a public member and look forward to serving further if that works out.
Very good. And what we're going to do is allow each member here to ask questions if they have any. And I'm going to start that. I ask easy questions. Well, no, they're not always so easy, but my question to you, being a public member of any board, any of our boards is, in my mind, probably the most difficult, because a lot of times you come into these boards without a lot of knowledge of the subject matter. But also in my mind, I think it's one of the most important positions on all the boards, because where you have several professionals of any given profession on the board, public members bring in a perspective that sometimes the professionals overlook. And my question to you is, you've been there for a little while now. What perspective do you think you bring to the board that otherwise would be missing from the board?
Well, we've now been through rules process twice, I think. One thing that I noticed is that sometimes they get very bogged down in the language, and sometimes the language is very technical. And I will just say, I don't understand what that means. Like, I'm good at reading, and I have good comprehension, and I don't understand what you're trying to say. So I think sometimes I can help with clarifying, like as a public person who might be reading rules, thinking, oh, like I want this to be readable for anybody in the state. And if I can't understand it, then certainly there are other people who won't either. So there's that. And then I just don't have the background that they do in terms of thinking about mental health. And so I think about it more from like people I know who have struggled with their own mental health or who have had therapy. And I think that that's a different perspective than somebody who's providing that therapy.
Very good. Committee members, further questions? Go ahead, Senator Bouchard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I want to thank you for serving. I think it's sometimes you wonder why you do it. I know it. So, but that said, my concern is there's a dozen different licenses there. And what I've seen is sometimes they overlap, they work sometimes on the same patients, same practices overlapped. And sometimes there's just a lot of struggle because one license doesn't maybe want the other license to do the same thing, or there's just struggles. And when you make rules, trying to carve out one or the other. I mean, so have you seen that just in a short time? And is there a way you can help so that just doesn't happen? So we try to make sure that the patient is the first one that gets the care, and not so much the licensees are getting what they want out of things, and then cause a division, and where we just can't seem to move forward and get in gridlock when we're trying to make changes on our end. That's where the problem is on our end. So
on topic.
Senator Bouchard, Chairman Baldwin. Okay, well, working with the members, I would not say that I see that kind of division or conflict. The people who are on the board, each one seems to have a clear idea of what their license does and how their licensees should be proceeding. And there is overlap, obviously. I mean, social workers can do some counseling, but counselors don't do a lot of the connecting to like services that social workers do. And people who do the addiction specialty, they do counseling, but only within like an addictions area. My experience has been most people understand where the lines are, and that is not really an area of conflict. It's just a matter of being very clear in the rules. And sometimes when you write something, it can be taken to mean various things. And I'm sure you've run into that as writing laws, where you wrote one thing and you intended certain things, but people read it differently, and the intention was that came out of it was totally different. So that's one reason why we have reviewed the rules twice in the 3 years, I think, that I've been there, is because we really want to clarify that language and try to make sure that there isn't that kind of conflict. I don't feel like That's important. I don't feel like that's the most critical thing that the board does. I think the board is very clear about it, and its job is to clarify that information for everyone else in the state. And that this particular group of people that has been on the board so far has really worked hard at doing that in a very consensus oriented manner. So that's just been my experience.
Very good.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, sir.
So just so you see it from my lens, we, there was a House rep and we showed up at one of the board meetings, and we were trying to get where the board had ability to actually make some changes, but they were very resistant. And what it was is allowing addiction licenses, to be more prolific than these ones that are already out there and working in other states. So, and it just took a lot of work to get to a point where we could all agree. And the bottom line is, we want to make sure that patients and people who have addictions can get the treatment.
Yep.
And that's one of my big pushes. I mean, I think we need to really start moving heavily in that direction. There are states that actually, and I can never remember the name of the drugs, but they use a drug so people don't want to take the opioids and the meth and whatever else they're addicted on. So they put them on these programs, and those are tough. I mean, those are tough to get everybody on the same page where we can get those programs in, but that's the direction I'd like to go. So, I mean, have you looked at any of those programs and how they implement those? Or
I haven't looked at any of those programs, but what I would say about that is that I don't think that the board is resistant to working to expand the ability to have more licensees in the addictions area. I think the stumbling block is that states have different levels of education and experience that they require. And Wyoming's, I think, from what I've read, appears to be in about the middle, maybe a little bit higher than average in terms of what they require. And some of the states that have a lot of licensees that have tried to bring in have a really low bar. And our concern is that we don't want to devalue the license, and we don't want to not serve our citizens by allowing people who are not as educated to provide care for them. And so our biggest concern is making sure that the new licensees who come in and that come in through reciprocity is that they have an equivalent level of education and experience and can provide the same opportunity and the same level of care that our current people are able to.
one last follow-up.
Okay, last follow. Go ahead.
And that, I won't have to repeat any of this because everybody will understand where I'm going. So, Mr.
You're
Chairman.
good. Go ahead, sir.
So what we had is someone that had a license for 10 years in another state. And then when you look at a transcript and, you look 10 years back and they don't have something that they teach now, and they may not teach in other states, that gets pretty critical when we have someone who has a license and standing, has been in a correctional institution and working. So that was where the real problem was. And understand, we were never trying to bring people in that had less experience or a lesser amount of training. We were just trying to bring people in that had training that we could verify. And that was where the stumbling block was. So that's really the key. I think we need to really start looking at that. So, I mean, and we need to be more, I think, broad in our programs, because we got people that have addictions. We just can't get them help. We got to get them back on the right track, or we're just going to have recidivism problems. We just can't keep them out of the system. So that's my concern.
Any other questions, committee? Senator Furphy, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very simple question. Once again, thank you for serving. And it's got to be tough running a business and trying to do that work too. My question is, have you ever had to take disciplinary action against any of licensed professionals in our state? Thank you.
Senator
Go ahead.
Furphy, Chairman Baldwin, yes, we do disciplinary action at every single meeting. So as a public member, I didn't do anything. I didn't really have any involvement with discipline other than reviewing what other people had done and then voting on it. But now I am doing some discipline, mostly of the simpler things like supervision hours and that kind of thing. But yeah, there is a lot of disciplinary action that takes place. Every single meeting we have a variety of things. And I have been, I mean, frankly, I was kind of shocked at some of the things that people do because it seems to me like very clear, like when you become in this sort of position that, you know, you shouldn't be doing certain types of things or having certain types of relationships with patients, and people do it anyway. So it's a good thing we have a board that reviews and can provide discipline in that area.
I think one of our interim meetings, we'll just have all the board members come in of all these professionals, all the medicine things, and tell us things that people have been disciplined for, just for the shock value to the committee. Because it would shock you. It would shock you beyond belief. Okay, thank you very much. With that said, I got to get to my script here. I'm sorry. Anybody in the audience would like to give any testimony about, realize you can talk about everybody when everybody's done, but otherwise we'll move ahead. Okay, would somebody like to make the motion for me? I believe Senator Furphy said he would.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we forward the name of Pamela L. and Tabby. I probably didn't do that right, but to the full Senate for confirmation.
Thank you for that motion. Anybody second that? Seconded. Okay, let's do a roll call vote on Ms. Untitled, please.
Roll call for mental health professional licensing on Camilla Antalbi. Senator Bouchard. Aye. Senator Furphy.
Aye.
Senator Hutchins.
Excused.
Senator McCune.
Aye.
Chairman Baldwin.
Aye. It's unanimous, four aye and one excused. We will be submitting your name. We will be, I believe, Monday, we will be doing that, doing the confirmation on the Senate floor. And if you want to listen in live, it's kind of fun. Okay, very good.
Thank
Ms.
you very
Davis.
much.
Thank you for serving. We appreciate it. Okay, Ms. Davis, back in your court.
Right, Senator Baldwin and members of the committee. Next, I would like to introduce Kristin Alcala, who is also a reappointment to the board as a clinical social worker. Kristin has a master's degree in social work from Boston College and has been licensed as a clinical social worker in the state of Wyoming since 1997. She has practiced in a multitude of settings, including community mental health, residential treatment, acute psychiatric care, and the outpatient setting. She is currently employed by Cody Regional Health in the Behavioral Health Clinic as the State Opioid Response Grant Manager and Clinical Supervisor. She has served on the Wyoming Mental Health Professions Licensing Board since 2015 and currently serves as the Wyoming delegate to the Association of Social Worker Boards Delegate Assembly. She, again, is filling the role of clinical social worker.
Very good. Welcome, Kristin. It's good to have you before Labor and Health. Is it snowing in Cody yet?
It is not, Chairman. Thank you for asking. It is quite overcast, so I'm expecting it.
It's coming. That's what I hear. If you'd like to go ahead and make an introductory statement, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Baldwin. To be honest, I don't have a lot of an introductory statement because I kind of included it all in a little blurb. But I can tell you that I have lived in Wyoming since 1997. I'm currently in Cody. I have lived in several other cities around the state. And I have served on the board, as she said, since 2015. And I have been very honored to be able to do this.
Very good. That was a very short and concise. We appreciate your service would be the first thing I would tell you. Nobody realizes how much time it takes to serve on these boards, and it takes an emotional toll as well as a time toll. So I'm going to let somebody else start off with the first question if somebody's got a question for Kristin. Senator Bouchard, you get to lead the way.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mine's not really, I don't think I have direct questions other than what you've already heard, that you heard my concerns. And maybe would you like to add maybe a few words about how you feel about with drug addiction, how we can be on a better path to solve the problems, working with the different practices that are under the, dozen different practices, and working together to get to the same goal, and just getting people that have addiction problems back on track, back in the game.
Ms. Alcala, go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, and Senator Bouchard. So I think that, I guess the one thing I would share about that whole process is that as a combined board, we regularly are reviewing the whole process to work toward, doing the best improvements we can, both on the procedures, but also really on making sure that we fulfill our mission, which is to protect the public. And so certainly something we have continued to do on a regular basis. As Camelia mentioned, we've done, I think I'm actually on my 5th bout of rule revision.
Very good. Senator Furphy, you look like you have a question in you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me ask you, Ms. Alcala, what's the toughest part about being on the board? The complications that you have to deal with? Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Senator Furphy, Chairman. So most difficult? Well, some of the complaints can be very time consuming, as we've kind of talked about. And that has been a challenge, especially with previous employment. Thankfully, my current employer is very understanding of this, serving on the board. And so they've been very supportive. And I think that the hardest part for me was, until recently, I had to take vacation time for every meeting and every hearing. And that probably has been the biggest challenge for me up until recently.
Very good. That would lead me into a question, since it's my turn. That question is given those difficulties, given the time constraints, and given all the things that you're required to do, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish in the next year before we see you again?
Chairman Bouchard, Chairman Baldwin, I'm not sure I really have a specific goal other than to continue to serve the people and to do my best at working toward, incorporating my kind of perspective as a social worker toward our commitment to protecting the public and looking at the rules and taking care of the business that we need to do.
Very good. And I would put in a plug here for, I think we're just seeing the tip of an iceberg on opioid abuse. I was serving on a national opioid task force where we're seeing the tip of the iceberg, and it's beginning to turn over, and we're going to see the whole iceberg here pretty soon. And I suspect that you folks are probably going to be seeing more of that than I will. But that would be my task. Any further questions? I didn't swear you in. Oh, no. I forgot to swear you in. So I'll alter the statement. I'm going to swear you in now. You don't have to raise your hand. To us. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you gave before this committee was the truth?
I do, Chairman Baldwin, and I could actually fill in about that opioid crisis if you would like.
Oh, go ahead.
Senator Bouchard was asking about medication-assisted treatment. And I can tell you that we are actively doing that in the state of Wyoming. We have a very active program. Part of my job is the state opioid response grant manager. And so there is a very active program in Cody if you would ever like to come see what we do and meet my team.
We appreciate that work. That's not an easy job. Oh, we got Senator Bouchard has one more thought for you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'd like to follow up on that. I mean, what the programs that I see that really work start in corrections, and it's somewhat voluntary that people have to say, yeah, I want to do this. But when they do, I mean, they start taking they're assisted with the pharmaceuticals, and then they have to get outside. Once they get outside, they have to continue. And I've seen testimonies of people that basically said, it saved their life.
Mhm.
They were working and towards restoring relationships to all the people they had, either it did a lot of damage in their life. So that this as much difficulty as we've had just trying to fix smaller things. I mean, this is where my goal is. I want to make sure we try to get to a point when people are incarcerated that we get them help and we have a path for them to continue help on the outside. So that's kind of my goal. And I think, we've got into a lot of tussles, and I don't think anybody really saw that was where my goal was. But so that, with that said, I mean, you're doing that kind of treatment. Do you think there's room to really just broaden that type of treatment statewide?
Go ahead.
Certainly. Thank you, Senator Bouchard, Chairman Baldwin. So one, I think it's important to understand that in my experience with substance abuse treatment, totally separate from working with the board, is it's actually quite a small percentage of our clients who actually come from the Department of Corrections. Currently, we just recently got a few that were released from the Department of Corrections, but the majority of our treatment programs are actually people who are just community members. And I think that we're currently doing quite a great job of bringing people from Department of Corrections. They started kind of a new process that has been very quick to get people in. And I think the other reality for me is that I have not found in general a shortage of providers in my experience when I'm hiring. We generally have applicants when I have openings, and I've been able to grow my program, and we've actually increased by 1.5 full-time equivalents in our current program.
Good. Any closing statements you'd like to make to the committee before we vote on you?
No, Chairman Baldwin, thank you very much for letting me join you.
Thank you very much for taking your time to appear. I believe Senator Bouchard is going to make a motion here. Right up by your finger in dark. I know.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we forward the name of Kristin Alcala to the position of Governor's Board appointee to Mental Health Board to the full Senate for confirmation.
You have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Let's take roll call, please, Mike.
Voting on Mental Health Professional License Board forwarding of Kristin Alcala. Senator Bouchard.
Aye.
Senator Furphy.
Aye.
Senator Hutchings.
Excused?
Senator McCune.
Aye.
Chairman Baldwin.
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 excused.
Very good. Thank you very much for appearing. We will be forwarding your name for full confirmation to the Senate, to the floor, I believe on Monday, if not Monday, Tuesday. Okay, Ms. Davis, that brings us to number 3.
Right, Senator Baldwin, I would like to now introduce you to Eric Schlitt from Casper, who is a new appointee as one of the public members to the board. Eric was appointed Director of Impact in Casper in December of 2019. Previously was the Associate Director for the Masters of Science in Health Services Administration at the University of Wyoming and the Track Director of Health Institution Leadership. He has worked in healthcare administration, business development, and geriatrics in rural Wyoming. While enrolled in his graduate studies, he was the operations manager of a reproductive clinic in Laramie, Wyoming. He started his own company and managed a remote placer gold mine in Yukon Territory. He has had experience working in hospitals and clinics throughout Wyoming. Again, he will be serving as a public member, new appointee to the board.
Very good. Welcome to the committee, Eric. It's good to see you. We'll give you some time to make an opening statement. Go ahead, sir.
I think she kind of got everything about me that you guys might want to know. I just thank you for the time today, and I'm excited to serve and welcome your questions. Thank you.
We hear that a lot here. Yeah, very good. Let's see. Somebody like to ask Eric some questions. Senator Bouchard, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You heard my little spiel. So can you give us maybe any experience or thoughts that you would bring about? I mean, how we would maybe help in addiction services?
Chairman Baldwin, sorry, I forgot to
Go ahead,
address you
sir.
before. Chairman Baldwin, Senator Bouchard. I think, given my newness on this board and my previous experience in healthcare administration, I think that more healthcare, more mental health professionals providing those services to the state and providing those correct services to the state is definitely an answer. And hopefully providing education and the correct education to as many people as possible before they get to that point will be something that we can maybe take a look at. But again, I'm new and excited to learn a lot of things. It's definitely been a whirlwind with everyone, and the support that they've offered at the beginning has been pretty fantastic.
Very good. Follow up?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as a public person, you're more of a person that doesn't have all the credentials. So you will be up against people who tell you, no, it's this way. And then another one will say, no, it's this way. And I mean, so you have to be that person who's almost like the consumer. So, I mean, how do you feel about that, going up against people who are going to tell you it's one way and maybe you're going to have a different idea and you're going to have to push back? How do you feel
Chairman-
about that?
Chairman Baldwin, Senator Bouchard. Looking at it from a consumer's point of view, I think that looking at what's best for me as someone who might be receiving that mental health and my family who might be receiving the mental health, just trying to provide the best service for them and the most correct and ethical service for them, I think will be something that we kind of look at. We all have a pretty good moral compass, and we've all will eventually sign an oath, say an oath for this. So I think going back to those kind of guiding principles will be something that I definitely do on a daily basis serving on this board.
Very good. Further questions? Senator McKeown, any questions? You're very quiet this meeting. Excuse me. Oh, we forgot to swear you in too. Man.
It's okay. It's worth
Yeah. It's okay. Senator McKeown, you want to read it's right there in the middle of the page or towards the top of the swearing in statement?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we
No,
forward.
not that one. Not yet. Swearing in. Move up the page.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you gave before this committee was the truth?
I do.
Very good. When you hold on to the other one, we'll get that in a minute. Okay, I just have a quick, easy question. As a public member, you've got some experience in healthcare, so as opposed to many public members, but what value do you bring to the board and that maybe the professionals, the counselors, or somebody else doesn't bring?
Chairman Baldwin, I think that I bring the value of, I don't want to say devil's advocate, but just constantly questioning and explaining it to me on just a very basic, we'll say 5th grade level, because they can explain it to me as a 5th grade level, then I can explain it to someone else or the community, and then the community would be able to understand what the goal and intention of the board is.
Appreciate that. Any further questions, committee? Senator Furphy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me ask a question. Of course, I'm from Laramie too. How has your degree worked out for you? Have you found the education you got of real value and apply it to your service on the board, et cetera? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Baldwin, Senator Furphy, I have a couple degrees from Laramie, and I think that I can draw something from every single one of them, whether that be those courses that I took, the people I took the courses with, the professors, the connections that I've made. That education has stayed with me and helped me grow and provided those connections as well within the state to people. I think that those degrees have definitely helped me serve the board. Will definitely help me serve the board, as well as continue to grow as a person, because as you might be able to see from the degrees I've had, I have a passion for learning and continuing to question things and question why something is the way it is. So I'll always be looking for the right and most ethical answer to something.
Very good. Further questions, committee? No questions. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate your taking the time to serve on the board. I suspect that you will be hearing a lot more from us, not personally, but you'll be hearing, we have a lot of mental health issues on our radar and will for the next interim for sure. So with that said, Now, can you give us the final statement?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we forward the name of Eric Schlitt to the position of
Mental health license.
Mental Health License Board to the full Senate for confirmation.
Second by Senator Bouchard. Let's take roll, please.
Roll call for Eric Schlitt to the Mental Health Professions Licensing Board. Senator Bouchard. Senator Furphy.
Aye.
Senator Hutchings.
Excused?
Senator McCune.
Aye.
Chairman Baldwin.
Aye.
4
Thank you.
ayes, 1 excused.
Perfect. We will be forwarding your name on to full Senate confirmation as well. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming today. Yeah, even though I was going to say, how's the weather in Laramie, but I know how the cast. Is it? It's not going to be all day. I saw snow on the map. I have it from a good weatherman that said it's going to snow there today. Okay. Ms. Davis, go ahead.
Chairman Baldwin, we have a little change in the order of the individuals that you all will be interviewing. Kathleen Farstad has another appointment coming up, so we're going to move her next.
Very good.
So I would like to introduce you to Kathleen Farstad from Laramie, who is also a new appointee. She will be for the position of licensed counselor. She has been an educator for 5 different school districts in Wyoming, worked in residential treatment centers, worked for 12 pediatricians, and is currently practicing as a licensed professional counselor. She has been on the Wyoming Mental Health Professional Licensing Board since July of 2001. And again, she'll be filling the role of licensed counselor as a new appointee to the board.
Okay. Senator Furphy has a statement he would like to read to you, ma'am. Oh, we can't see you. I see a white space.
Yeah, I know. I can't figure out how to get the screen to show
And
me.
That's fine. We can hear your voice and
It
that's,
looks like it's already snowing in Laramie, doesn't it?
it's a whiteout, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear us? Okay.
Oh, sure. I can.
Senator Furphy, go ahead, sir.
Kathleen Farstad, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give before this committee will be the truth?
I do. Yes.
Very good. Would you like to give an opening statement for us, ma'am?
I've been on the board since 2021, not one. So I'm haven't even been on it for a whole year yet, but I'm finding it to be very interesting. I'm kind of semi-retired right now, but I'm still I'm still a practicing professional counselor and seeing kids in Cheyenne every week. But I like the idea of being involved with this committee, with this board. I've learned an awful lot since I started.
Okay. Since committee. The committee is running out of questions.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Senator Bouchard thought of one. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Chairman. I'm not going to go through, I mean, if I assume you were listening online.
Yes.
So you've heard the direction that I've been taking on addictions. I mean, more specific, ICNRC and ADAC as license, as using those as guides for licensing in Wyoming. My direction is just really, we have a lot of addiction problems. We see it in the prisons. Sometimes you guys aren't the ones actually involved in that prison work, but I keep taking it from that prison level and back into the community and making sure people have a good transition. That's a scope of practice that sometimes is missed in how that all works. So what are your feelings about that?
I think, well, I work with mostly kids, and the kids have parents that often are either in prison or have been released from prison and are working on addiction issues. And occasionally I work with kids with addiction issues, not as much as I used to, but I think that it's really important we focus on the treatment aspect of that.
Senator Furphy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very simple question. Why are you interested in serving on this board?
Well, I've been a licensed professional counselor in Wyoming since 1988. I've worked in almost every possible setting you can work with children and families in. And I'm still very interested and not tired at all about working with them. But this gives me a whole different perspective. Sometimes it's a little embarrassing to see what some of my colleagues are doing and calling it therapy. That's discouraging to have those people breaking the rules in that way. But I feel like it's a small thing I can do to help.
Very good. That help is needed to move forward the profession, which is a segue to my question. And that question is this: I know there's a fairly large community of counselors, both adult and children in Laramie in Albany County. If one of those that you know fairly well was brought to the board for discipline, what would be your feelings on having to have disciplinary procedures against someone that you've worked with or someone that you know well?
Chairman Baldwin, I would approach it the same way I approach any other application or complaint, looking at it according to what the rules are, the ethical considerations, and whether or not there's reprimand of some kind to be taken.
Okay, further questions, committee? No, I keep looking at Senator McKeon. Okay, we're gonna let you ask the next question from the next person. Would you like to make any closing statements?
No, I appreciate this process and I really appreciate being on the board. Thank
Again,
you very much.
we appreciate you being willing to step forward and serve on the board. It's not easy. And also, please don't retire. I know you want to, but we need workers, so please don't retire yet. Check back.
Not yet, not yet.
Check back with us when you think it's time to retire, and we'll tell you whether you can or not.
Oh, really?
Just kidding, of course. Let's see. Yeah. Go ahead, Senator Furby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move that we forward the name of Kathleen Farstad to the position of Board of Mental Health Professions Licensing Board to the full Senate for confirmation.
You've heard the motion. Second? Second by Senator McEwen, the land seldom heard from. Let's go ahead and take roll.
This is a vote for Kathleen Farstad to the Mental Health Professions Licensing Board. Senator Bouchard.
Aye.
Senator Furphy.
Aye.
Senator Hutchins.
Excused?
Senator McKeon.
Aye.
Chairman Baldwin.
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 excused.
4 ayes. We will be forwarding your name to the full Senate floor for confirmation early next week. Thank you very much for visiting with us today.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
That white out. Okay, Ms. Davis.
All right, Senator Baldwin, finally, I would like to introduce you to Kelly Buckingham, who is also a new appointee as an addiction specialist. Kelly has worked in a clinical capacity for the Volunteers of America Northern Rockies for over 14 years. Currently, she serves as the Vice President of IT and Compliance. Prior to Kelly's promotion a year ago, she served for 9 years as Senior Director of Behavioral Health, where she supervised the continuum of co-occurring treatment operations in Gillette, Sheridan, and Riverton, Wyoming. In this position, she executed, created, administered organizational policy and procedure, as well as planned and directed all the phases of clinical programming. In addition to her Wyoming clinical license, she also holds a certification as a Master Addictions Counselor from the National Certification Commission for Addiction Professionals. Further, due to VOA's area, she is also a licensed addiction counselor and licensed social worker in Montana, licensed master social worker in North Dakota, and licensed clinical social worker in South Dakota. Again, Kelly will be serving the role of addiction specialist on the Board of Professional Licensing.
Very good. Welcome to Labor and Health. First of all, you get a swear that oath from you. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give before this committee will be the truth?
I do.
Very good. We'll allow you to go ahead and make an opening statement. Tell us anything you want to tell us.
Thank you, Chairman and committee. First of all, it's an honor to be appointed to a board such as this. Being a lifelong Wyoming resident, I have had multiple volunteer opportunities throughout my life and time in Wyoming. One as a deputy coroner for Sheridan and Johnson counties, also as a volunteer EMT. However, I've always had an interest in furthering my knowledge around state government. And I saw serving on the licensing board as an opportunity to not only expand that knowledge, but also serve the citizens of Wyoming by safeguarding their safety and welfare, by ensuring that those that are licensed or certified to provide mental health services in the state are appropriately qualified. Further, with my diverse background, I hope to bring the perspective of not only being a younger duly licensed professional, but a multi-state licensed professional as well. So thank you.
Very good. Questions, committee? Go ahead, Senator McEwen.
I'm not sure she didn't already answer my question, but I feel the need to ask a question. What would you say your biggest strengths are that you're going to add that's going to help this board out?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Senator McEwen. And Chairman, one of the strengths that I feel like I bring to this board is my diverse background. One, I can represent the younger generation that are of the field that are coming into service in Wyoming, as well as having worked in Wyoming as a rural frontier state. I feel like I recognize and I'm aware of the challenges we face as providers.
Very good. Further questions? Senator Bouchard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I'm going to make one comment on just a little detail. You must do a lot of Zoom meetings. I noticed that you have the blurred background and the lighting is perfect. So you must really have a really good setup there to do that.
Thank you.
That said, dictions, obviously, if you've listened, that's the area that really, and not the word excites me, but makes me, I want to get to where we have a point where we have all the teams playing on the same page. Corrections it's very difficult in corrections because they have a lot of baggage to be in a correctional institution. But if we don't nip it in the butt there, we don't start working on it there and making a transition when they get out, and we have serious problems and they're back in the system again. So what can you do as an addictions professional to help that, to facilitate that from all the way from the time that they're arrested to the time they're prosecuted to the time they're incarcerated, and then they start making their trip outside of incarceration back into the public? What can you do to help us facilitate that in this state?
Go ahead, Ms. Buckingham.
Chairman and Senator Bouchard. First, I want to start by talking as a licensed professional in the state. One of the reasons I am duly licensed is that addictions is a passion of mine, serving those that are underserved historically in Wyoming. Primarily, my first license was a clinical social worker, and I recognized working in the substance use field that I was lacking some of the necessary extra skills to work with this population. So I took it upon myself to further advance my education and have since learned that that is an area of growth and continued improvement in Wyoming. You are absolutely correct in that we need to nip it in the bud in the institutions. I would even go further and say we need to nip it in the bud with prevention in the schools and with families. As a representative of the licensing board, what I feel I can bring as an addiction professional is an awareness around the different certifications and licensures amongst the states around us, because other states are doing it well. And I feel like with our continued improvement, we can continue to do well.
Very good. Further questions, committee? I'll ask one. Senator Furphy, you're getting quiet this time. And my question is, you seem very motivated, and we appreciate that. With that being said, if you have a single goal for the next year, what you're going to bring to this board, or what this board's going to accomplish during the next year, what would that goal be?
My goal for the board would be to seek continued improvement, to see how we can expand and increase the capacity to serve Wyoming residents by looking at different reciprocity opportunities. And by being able to create a stronger workforce that does not stagnate or reduce the high bar that we currently hold our licensees to.
Very good. We appreciate that. Now, I would tell you, we're going to use some of your background in the future. I know we have some coroner legislation in front of us, and I know we have some EMS legislation in front of us. So pay attention. We may be calling your name out again someday, but we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming here today.
Yes, thank you.
Serve. Oh, well, we've got one more question. You're off of Senator McEwen.
When you were deputy coroner, did you find your counseling skills were important?
Absolutely. So I was Senator McEwen and Chairman. I was actually a deputy coroner before I became a counselor. I was appointed a deputy coroner at the age of 18 in Sheridan County. And that then spurred me into my counseling profession. So I see it now intertwined on a regular basis. I'm still a deputy coroner for Johnson County. And those counseling skills go with me, whatever patient I'm working with, whether it's a family member, whether it's an EMS patient, or whether it's a patient in one of our residential facilities.
Very good. Okay. Senator Bouchard.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we forward the name of Kelly Buckingham to the position of Wyoming Mental Health Professionals Licensing Board to the full Senate for confirmation.
Second. Second by Senator Furphy. Let's take roll.
Roll call for Kelly Buckingham to the Governor's Council for Mental Health Professionals. Senator Bouchard.
Aye.
Senator Furphy. Aye. Senator Hutchins.
Excused?
Senator McEwen.
Aye.
Chairman Baldwin.
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 excused.
Very good. Ms. Buckingham, we will be forwarding your name to the full Senate floor for confirmation. I don't see any problems in the future. We appreciate you coming today and appreciate your service. And you can't retire, but you're nowhere near retirement, so we don't.
You said,
With that said, I notice we have someone from the department here with us. Would you like to make any statements, sir? You don't have to. Okay. And we appreciate you coming. Anyone else out there who wish to make any statements? Testimony, good jokes? Okay. With that said, yes, go ahead, Senator Furphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to comment on the quality of the applicants for this board position. It's very impressive. So I'm really pleased with that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. With that, this committee hearing will be closed. Thank you very much, committee. We'll see you back in the floor. Thank you.